All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. This is episode 11 of the Tough Lift podcast. I'm your host, Matt Adamchek. We're doing a live video. I'm going to be fucking around with this live streaming stuff, I guess, a little bit more. Today's guest, I figured I'd start bringing on some guests because you're probably sick of just my voice. This is Suzy Sanchez, one of my friends in weightlifting for many years now. She's been an athlete for many years. She's a past employee of the sport of weightlifting. She's now working in another sport, and really, I think just kind of like a overall sports growth connoisseur.
My jam.
Suzy, if you can go ahead, kind of introduce yourself real quick, kind
Yeah.
of like what you were up to, what you were doing, and then lastly, what kind of sandwich would you be if you were a sandwich? I told you this was
Hi,
gonna be weird.
you're ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
Hi,
okay.
everyone. I'm so sorry that you are like melting your brain listening to this session today.
That's fair.
But I think
I
it'll be
gave her
fun.
14 minutes of notice, by the way.
Yeah, that's perfect. So I'm Suzy. Like Matt said, I used to work at USA Weightlifting, but that's just such a small part of like my life in weightlifting, right? I was an athlete. I ran my own club. I still run my own club. It's just much smaller than it used to be.
The name of
National
that club?
coach, the retirement home,
There
because
you
it's
go.
where retired athletes go to die. Um,
Excellent.
yeah, like I teach at our coaching courses for USA Weightlifting, so still heavily involved with the organization, just more so on the like coach referee side now. But while I was there, I was the kind of go-to person when it came to anything related to the growth of the sport of weightlifting. So if you needed help like crafting a presentation to reach out to high schools, or if you needed resources from USA Weightlifting through scholarship programs, or if you wanted to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, or if you had an athlete that you wanted to recruit into the sport, I was the go-to person. And I really enjoyed my time there. I was there for 6 years. And I had previously worked there for about a year in 2014 when I was an athlete at the training center. And it was a really good time. But you know how these things go. We had changes come in, and I took it as an opportunity to move on. And now I'm over at USA Cycling doing very similar work, just with a totally new community of people. I forgot what the next question was.
Sounds good. What kind of sandwich would you be if you were a sandwich? This is an important interview question.
You know, me and my brother-in-law, he's from Pittsburgh, and we always talk about our love of sandwiches. Like we send each other like sandwich
They're
places and sandwich
outstanding. My
cookbooks.
wife
I
doesn't
fucking
like
love sandwiches.
sandwiches, and it's like her worst trait, I would say.
Your wife doesn't like sandwiches?
No, she doesn't like sandwiches or pizza. It's actually surprising that I
Immediate,
tolerate this.
immediate divorce. Immediate divorce.
Yeah, extremes are
Yeah,
needed.
yeah.
So what is
But
your
for
sandwich?
me, um, my go-to sandwich is a turkey club with avocado. I just
Yeah,
like
but
to
is
have a
that the
bunch of
sandwich
shit
you
in my
would be?
sandwich.
Is that the
Yeah, I
sandwich
mean,
you
why
would
not?
be
You know,
though?
you got like it's multi-layered. It's like multifaceted, and I like view myself as being a very like Swiss Army knife type of person.
Yeah, I would say that I agree with that. If anyone that knows you,
Yeah,
you're constantly involved in multiple things at once. So
yeah.
that's
It's
good.
because I have
I like
ADHD,
it.
but it's fine.
That's fair. That's fair. I also
Yeah.
think I have undocumented ADHD.
Oh,
But
I'm sure you do.
so
I'm
with
sure. I'm sure you saw
I
on
got
TikTok. Now
tested
you
when I
think
was
you have
younger, and they
ADHD.
said I was bored. Said I was bored in school. I didn't have it.
Okay.
But on the subject of weightlifting, okay, with the experience you have in the sport, some questions I think to bring some actual content to the podcast versus just sandwich types.
Fair.
Um, what are what's like in your opinion, what is the toughest thing to learn as a weightlifter?
Like as an athlete or like
Yeah, like
working
as
there?
an athlete. As an
Oh,
athlete.
okay. So when I came up in weightlifting, elitism was like such a huge problem, and it's still a problem in weightlifting. But I feel like this latest generation has done a much better job of like being mindful of like their talent and trying to like bring people into the sport versus like kind of creating a barrier. So something that I learned very early on was that weightlifters are all about those egos, man. And then just learning to kind of navigate that and trying to find like who people are outside of that weightlifting persona was like a huge thing for me. Because
Interesting.
I mean, I struggled with it. Like I struggled with elitism. Like I was like,
Yeah.
absolutely, I'm a badass weightlifter. Like whatever. And then I realized, dude, I'm not shit. Like what am I doing? And that was
Well, I
like
mean,
such
there's
a
like there's an aura of confidence you need to have.
yeah. Like, but
So
I think there's a difference between being confident and like thinking that you're better than other people.
yeah.
Because like once I stopped like being good, quote unquote, like good at weightlifting, I realized like what's left, right? I didn't just want to be like Susie the weightlifter because I feel like that's how most people are in the sport. Like I'm a weightlifter, but like what else are
Yeah.
you? You know?
Yeah.
And so I think that was the hardest lesson was that realizing that being a weightlifter is more than just being a weightlifter. It's recognizing that you need to have more layers, I guess, to who
I
you
like
are as
that.
a person. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to kind of bounce off that, I think sometimes people that are high level weightlifters, it's the nature of the beast to be like self involved, right? That's all individual sports at a higher level
Right.
is like you have to be focused, but also sometimes being mindful of the people around you, not realizing like the two people that are next to you, the 20-year-old and the 18-year-old, like they actually look up to you. They see
Right.
how hard you work, they see what you do, they see how consistent you are. And sometimes like when you're so wrapped up in trying to be good yourself, you don't even realize that you cast kind of, I don't want to call it like a an aura, but it is almost an aura of like people are looking up to you
Yeah.
inadvertently. And
Well, and that's
those
like
different layers you're discussing like sometimes come into play of like, yeah, you, how do you respect people, stuff like that. So
right, absolutely. 'Cause, I mean, there's a difference between being like, because you have to be selfish as an athlete when you're training at a
100%.
high level. That's just the reality. Like, you have to tell your parents that you're not coming home for Christmas, or you have to tell your friends that you're not going out because you have to focus on training. And, but I think that there's a difference between being selfish and like having an ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Solid. What do you think the easiest thing to learn as a weightlifter is?
Weights are always heavy, man. The
Boom.
weights are
Love it. Simple.
always the weights are always heavy.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I Ivan Rojas, while he
Yeah.
was coaching me, and I was bitching one day about triples at like 85%, and it was hard. I think the line almost to an exact was, it's weightlifting. If you didn't want hard, then you should go make quilts or like
Yeah,
something
like
like that.
go do something else.
I was like, wow, that's some heavy logic, bro.
Yeah.
It was so annoying because it was right.
I
But
mean anyone who does weightlifting like there's like I feel like there's like a Venn diagram of like people who do weightlifting and people who are into like S&M because like you have to hate yourself.
you
You have to
do.
hate yourself a
You
little bit
do.
to want to do weightlifting.
No, it's a fucking sport of fighting gravity. It's literally the
Yeah.
definition of insanity.
Yeah. And we're like, hey, let's do it. I mean, I don't even compete like really anymore, and I still train like 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Why? Why am I doing this to
I
myself?
literally tell all my athletes, don't date weightlifters. I like tell them, I'm like, don't date weightlifters
I
because you're
dated one
insane.
weightlifter and was like, never again.
Yeah. No,
Um,
it's
yeah.
why. Literally, we're insane. Why would you want to enter that starting off at an insanity base? It only gets
Right.
worse from there. It's not going to get better.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
Um,
all right. So, next question, just to kind of keep moving.
yeah.
Okay. So, you've been involved, you've been in around as an athlete, as a supporter, as an employee. So, this is a little bit deeper question. How have you seen the sport grow for women in particular? Because I think you have been in the sport in an age after like the break the ice athletes kind of got through, and then it was like the next echelon of athletes. You were kind of in that group
Yeah.
as a female in the sport, and a lot of, because it blew up so much, I don't
It
think a
blew up
lot of
so
people know
quick.
like what it was like, or like was it good, was it bad, was everyone special, was because there wasn't so many. Like break that down a little bit.
Yeah. So
And do you
my
have any,
first
is it
national
for the better
championship,
or is it for the
my
worst?
yeah. Well, it's definitely for the better. Like, it's definitely better to
Yeah.
have more women in weightlifting. I'm gonna just have more people in weightlifting. But I'll never forget.
I meant like how the sport is for females.
Oh,
Has it only
got
gotten
it.
better, or is it still like kind of going against the grain?
Gotcha. Yeah. So my first national championships, there were three women in my weight class, like including me. Um, and I remember like going to this national championships and being like, "This is ridiculous. Like I'm gonna medal regardless. Like why aren't there more women?" And from 2010 to 2013, that number just like skyrocketed. And it was a big part of that was like the CrossFit boom and CrossFit blowing up, and then obviously people realizing that they would rather lift weights than do an EMOM of like burpees. So, so yeah, that was like a huge thing. But with that huge influx of women, and not just women, but like people in the sport in general, we also developed diversity of thought, right? We had more people coming into the sport from varied backgrounds. It was no longer kind of the space of that 1970s, 80s, 90s, like machismo mindset. It was like, hey, there are people from
Yeah.
um, all sorts. I mean, that was the reality, right? Like that was
Yeah,
the
for
reality.
sure.
I remember going to competitions like local meets and like people calling me like honey and it's also because I was in Texas, right? There's also that like cultural part of it, or people commenting on how I looked in my singlet.
Yeah.
And what could I say? Like you don't say anything, you just go with it. And so I feel like now where we are in 2023, so that's like what, like 13, I can't do math, 2023, 12 years later.
Yeah.
Um, it's, I mean, I think that the sport has definitely become a safer place in the sense that there are just more people around to advocate.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily mean like, I mean, there are people like on the board and the staff that are advocates, but I'm talking about like on the local level. Like I know that if I go to a local meet in Colorado Springs, no one is going to say shit about me wearing a Power Girl themed singlet. Do you know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
just excited that I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
And I don't think that would have been the case in 2010. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Good, solid. Yeah, you have a you've been able to observe a lot of adjustments, changes, things come into the scene. So sometimes I think the olden days. I was actually watching some old videos of the skating rink nationals.
That wasn't
Um,
even the worst nationals
no,
venue.
it
And
wasn't.
that's what I think is so funny. I'm
I
like,
know, but people don't know, man. They don't know how spoiled they are,
dude,
and it's
like,
like
go ahead.
no, it's just I so like the army, right? I'm from the army, so like it always was like, oh, the generation before you had it so bad. So I was like at the cusp of like the BDUs, which is like the battle dress uniform, the green army
Yeah.
fatigues that like we had to iron and like. So I was the last generation of those, and they switched. And then I come into weightlifting, and I'm getting into weightlifting like right as that era was ending,
Yeah.
and they're just like, you better remember what these meets were like last year. Like, these are so much better. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I
Yeah.
just got lucky twice. I got lucky
In your
twice
life.
now.
Yeah. I also
um,
love that it took exactly 16 minutes for you to mention that you were in the army.
yeah, well, I've gotten better,
Yeah. No, it's fine.
Well, it's just all the closed head injuries.
Yeah.
So, all right. So while I do these, I'm gonna try to make them entertaining at least. So we're gonna play like mini games and shit.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so we're gonna play a little mini game just where I'm gonna rattle off shit and you're gonna respond in short yay or nay opinionated answers, and they've got to go
Ooh.
quick. All
Okay.
right,
Let's
so
do
I have
it.
a list here that I've made with lots of scientific data and internet probing to get the exact questions here.
Perfect. I love like weird internet questions.
Yep, this is it.
Okay.
It's not gonna get that weird. We're not gonna do like Charlie the Unicorn type shit, but
Okay, that's good because I
you
don't
have
know
to
who
be
that
you
is.
have to be age. You should know Charlie Unicorn. Anyways,
I
that's your
should. I should.
All right. So you can say your opinions on them. You can talk on them. Just got to go quick. First question:
Okay.
turtles.
Yeah. I love
Okay.
turtles.
All right. Snatches.
Yes. Favorite lift.
Star Wars.
Absolutely.
Pilates.
No. Immediately
Mus-
no.
Mustard or ketchup.
Mustard.
Hang positions or blocks.
Blocks.
North or South USA.
North USA.
All right. I'm gonna advocate for that. Anyways,
Oh, hold on one sec. Hold on one sec.
yeah.
Sorry.
Technical pause complete.
Bro, my dogs are being crazy. Sorry.
That's okay.
Keep going.
This is an important one. Backstreet Boys or NSYNC.
Neither.
Ooh, shit. All right, books or audiobooks?
Both.
Oh, Legos.
No.
What?
Yeah, I'm not a Legos person. Never have
Zumba.
been.
Zumba.
No. Tried it once though. Absolutely not.
Muscle snatches.
Yes.
Mezcal.
No. I
Apple
don't
or
like
Android?
it. Ugh. Neither. I have an iPhone, but I hate both equally.
Athletes.
Does that count as an answer?
Hmm.
Stressful.
All
Yeah.
right, excellent. I was surprised with the a few of those. You know, the ketchup or mustard one. How did that handle while you were in Iceland with the world
Bro,
famous
I
hot
ate
dogs?
so many hot dogs. It's ridiculous.
Yes, I
Like
had
I ate
people
a
at the gym
dump.
literally asking why you were doing it. By the way, and I had to like Wikipedia and be like a fucking representative party to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's
Yes.
because it's like the national food of Iceland. Also, food in Iceland is stupid expensive, and hot dogs are $5. So I had made a bet with my husband that I could eat 20 hot dogs. I only got to 10.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
And
let
I,
down actually.
yeah, I was actually gonna do a like review video, bro. I'm
You gonna do
sorry.
review
These
videos?
dogs are being ridiculous. Hey, yeah. So I was gonna do a review video on all of these hot dogs
Yeah.
to like recommend where the best places to get these hot dogs were until I realized about halfway through that they're literally the exact same brand.
I was gonna say they're probably all like two suppliers.
They're literally the same brand of hot dog, the same brand of bun, the same brand of like all the condiments. And I was like, well,
It's a
fuck
fucking
it.
easy review.
Yeah. Anywhere you
Um,
go, you're gonna get the same hot dog.
there you go. So basically, it sums up everything anyone would want to know about you. You did a big, broad spectrum there.
Oh, perfect. I've
So
been in weightlifting a long time. I ate a lot of hot dogs.
there you go.
Yeah.
So since you've been in the sport so long, and like, what are some actions? This will be kind of like our last chunk question.
Right.
What are some actions you think that like the newer generation, and we're talking like the last like 3 years maybe,
Yeah.
can help maybe like foster the next generation to like people being more involved. I personally feel like the younger lifters, like athlete age, not necessarily 35 or 12, the newer lifters just like aren't taking part maybe as much as say 10 years ago people would become actively taking part in the sport. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
because everything's like remote now, but I feel like I'm still hearing about like during this digital age, like we're having deficits in people becoming judges, people volunteering, stuff like that at the level above, I guess, just being a loader. So what
Yeah.
advice or opinions on that do you have?
I have lots of opinions. So I'll start with athlete apathy has always been an issue. It's not just an issue in weightlifting; it's an issue across all Olympic sports. Because again, like we talk about, like the level of selfishness that you have to have in order to be an elite athlete, because you're just focused on like your weightlifting.
Bingo. Yeah.
So when you're focusing on your weightlifting, you're not taking the time to get like your local ref certification. You're not taking the time to get involved with governance and policy making. USA Weightlifting actually has like more athlete representation, like they go above and beyond what they're required to have, like from the USOPC, to give
Mm-hmm.
athletes an opportunity to like have their voice heard. And yet they really struggle, as many NGBs do, with getting athletes to engage. And that's like for a number of different reasons. Like for me personally, the reason that I got so engaged and I was so active was because of my coach. Like I trained under Kyle Pierce at LSU in Shreveport, and Kyle was always very active with USA Weightlifting as a board member and on committees and being involved internationally. And he really fostered um, the awareness of how important it is to be involved with these things, because otherwise you're a victim of like the system.
Yeah.
Um, so like when it comes to advice, my advice wouldn't even be to the athletes, it would be to the coaches. And as coaches, you are the leader in your club, like on your team. Your athletes are going to follow what you do. If you're someone who's heavily involved, they're going to get heavily involved. And I mean, look at what you're doing at 4 Star. Like we had that meet in Detroit and like your entire team showed up, and we're helping run the event. Whereas like there are other clubs that they just show up, they have a good time, and they go home, which is also totally fine. Like if that's your jam, but I really think that change comes from the coaches and the coaches being advocates to their athletes to participate in being refs, being committee members, and getting involved with like your WSO and things like that.
Solid. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like try to encourage my like athletes in the club to help out wherever we can and stuff like that. And that's just kind of like how I was raised. So it's always been a part of my my shtick, if you will.
Yeah. I'm a big
But
volunteerism person, so I get it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it, Suzy, for your time. Thank you
Yeah,
for hopping on here last
for sure.
second.
Thanks for having me.
Being the official first guest of this podcast that will probably never ever go anywhere, but it's fun, and I provide hopefully some good content for people that want it. Suzy, if people want to find you, where should they go? And please don't give your address. That's weird.
Yeah, no, I definitely won't do that. Although honestly, I do let too many people just come to my house because I have a gym in my garage. So,
That's fair. That's fair.
you can follow me on Instagram at the Suzy Sanchez. That's my handle for literally everything. But I'm most active on Instagram, and I provide updates on things that are happening within the world of weightlifting. So
When are we gonna get our next ick video?
my sister just asked me that the other day.
I
And
have
I was
one.
like,
I have one for you, but
I have a whole list. I just have
yeah,
been sick the last few weeks, and I just have not had any like energy to put anything together. So if you have any weightlifting icks or unpopular opinions, please send them my way.
sounds good.
Yep.
All right. Well, guys, hopefully you like this. Let me know in the comments section. Please, as always, if you do enjoy it, subscribe. You'll get alerts to when new episodes come out. And beyond that, have a good training session, everyone. Thank you, Suzy.
Bye, guys.